In this video, we're going to go over partial fraction decomposition. I'm going to show you how to solve many of these problems. But before we do that, let's talk about what partial fraction decomposition is. So what exactly is it? Well, to illustrate it, let me give you an example problem. Let's say if we have 2 over 3x plus 4 over 5y. How can we combine these two fractions into one single fraction? Well, we need to get common denominators first. So I'm going to multiply the second fraction by 3x over 3x, and the first one by 5y over 5y. So this will give me 10y over 15xy plus 12x over 15xy. Now, because I have a common denominator, I can combine it into a single fraction. So I can write it as 10y plus 12x divided by 15xy. Now, what partial fraction decomposition allows me to do is it allows me to take a single fraction like this one and break it down into two smaller fractions. So it's the reverse of combining two fractions into a single fraction. So you take a single fraction and break it down into multiple smaller fractions. It could be 2 fractions, 3, 4. It depends on the nature of this particular fraction. And so that's the basic idea behind partial fraction decomposition. So let's work out an example. Let's say we have a rational function, 7x minus 23, divided by x squared minus 7x plus 10. So how can we take this fraction and break it down into smaller fractions? The first thing we need to do is we need to factor this fraction completely. We can't factor the numerator. However, we can factor this trinomial, x squared minus 7x plus 10. So what two numbers multiply to 10 but add to the middle coefficient, negative 7? So we know 5 times 2 is 10, but negative 5 plus negative 2 adds up to negative 7. So we have 7x minus 3 divided by x minus 2 and x minus 5. So you need to write the denominator in terms of linear factors and quadratic factors. So what exactly is a linear factor? Linear factors are like x plus 2, 3x minus 5, 4x plus 8, x. These are linear factors. A quadratic factor will look something like this. X squared plus 8x plus 3, which is not factorable, or it could be x squared plus 7. These are quadratic factors. Now, there are some other terms that you need to be familiar with. How would you describe this term? This is known as a repeated linear factor. So x squared is also a repeated linear factor. 7x plus 3 squared, that's a repeated linear factor. Now x squared plus 1 squared, that's a repeated quadratic factor. Be familiar with these terms because it's going to affect the way this fraction is decomposed. So we have two linear factors, and what we need to write is two fractions on this side. And each fraction will contain a linear factor. Now, anytime you have a linear factor on the bottom, you need to put a constant on top. Now, we're going to choose two different constants, a and b. Our goal is to determine a and b. Is a equal to 3? Is b equal to 4? We need to figure that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by this denominator. That is by x minus 2 and x minus 5. So if we multiply this fraction by what we have here, x minus 2 and x minus 5 will cancel, giving us 7x minus 23 on the left side. Now, if I take this fraction and multiply it by what I have here, the x minus 2 terms will cancel, leaving behind a times x minus 5. Now, these two will cancel, and I'm going to be left with b times x minus 2. Now, when you get to this part, there's two ways in which you could find a and b. You could use a system of linear equations, or you can plug in x values and determine a and b. For a simple problem like this, it's best to plug in x values. So let's try plugging in x equals 5, because if we do so, this will disappear. 5 minus 5 is 0, and 0 times a is 0. So then this becomes 7x minus 23, or 7 times 5 minus 23, because we need to replace that with 5. That's equal to a times 5 minus 5 plus b times 5 minus 2. 7 times 5 is 35. And 5 minus 5 is 0, so this disappears. And 5 minus 2 is 3. Now 35 minus 23 is 12. And so that's equal to 3b. And if we divide both sides by 3, b is equal to 4. So I'm just going to rewrite that here. So now we need to calculate a. So this time, let's plug in 2. So if x is equal to 2, let's see what's going to happen. So we're going to have 7 times 2 minus 23, and that's equal to a times 2 minus 5 plus b times 2 minus 2. 7 times 2 is 14, and 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and 2 minus 2 is 0. Now 14 minus 23, that's negative 9, and that's equal to negative 3a. b times 0 is 0, so that disappears. And now let's divide both sides by negative 3. So negative 9 divided by negative 3 is 3. And so that's the value for a. Now let's go back to our original problem. So we had 7x minus 23 divided by x minus 2 times x minus 5. And that was equal to a over x minus 2 plus b over x minus 5. Now we have the value of a. A is 3, and b is 4. So therefore, we can see that this fraction is equal to 3 over x minus 2 plus 4 over x minus 5. That's the answer. Now, if you ever need to check it, simply combine the two fractions and see if they give you what you started with here. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to multiply this fraction by x minus 2 over x minus 2. Whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. And this one, I'm going to multiply by x minus 5 divided by x minus 5. 3 times x minus 5 is 3x minus 15. And on the bottom, we have x minus 5 times x minus 2, which I'm going to leave it that way. And then 4 times x minus 2, that's going to be 4x minus 8 divided by x minus 5, x minus 2. Now, if we add 3x and 4x, that will give us 7x. And then if we add negative 15 and negative 8, that will give us a negative 23. So as you can see, the answer that we had at the beginning was correct. So it's 3 over x minus 2 plus 4 over x minus 5. That's the answer. Now, for the sake of practice, let's try another similar problem. So let's say, let me rewrite that. If we want to decompose 29 minus 3x divided by x squared minus x minus 6. Feel free to pause the video. Go ahead and try that. So first, we need to factor the denominator. By the way, notice that the denominator is always 1 degree higher than the numerator. Now, what two numbers multiplies to negative 6 and add to the middle coefficient negative 1? This is going to be negative 3 and positive 2. Negative 3 plus 2 adds up to negative 1. So we have 29 minus 3x divided by x minus 3 times x plus 2. So let's set this equal to a over x minus 3 plus b over x plus 2, since we have two linear factors. Now, just like before, we're going to multiply both sides of this equation by this denominator. So that is by x minus 3 times x plus 2. So these two will cancel, and on the left side, we're going to get 29 minus 3x. Now, if we take a over x minus 3 and multiply it by this, we can see that x minus 3 will cancel, and then we're going to get a times x plus 2. And then if we take this fraction, multiply it by x minus 3 times x plus 2, the x plus 2 factors will cancel, leaving behind b times x minus 3. Actually, let's keep that there for now. So at this point, let's plug in x equals 3. This is going to be 29 minus 3 times 3, and that's equal to a times 3 plus 2 plus b times 3 minus 3. 3 minus 3 is 9, and 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 minus 3 is 0, so this disappears. 29 minus 9 is 20, and that's equal to 5a. So if we divide both sides by 5, we can see that a is equal to 4. I'm going to put that in the side over here. Now, let's plug in negative 2 so that this term becomes 0. So we're going to have 29 minus 3 times negative 2, and that's equal to a negative 2 plus 2 plus b times negative 2 minus 3. Now, negative 3 times negative 2 is positive 6. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0, and negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. 29 plus 6 is 35, and so that's equal to negative 5b. So b is going to be 35 divided by negative 5, which is negative 7. So now that we have a and b, we can now write the final answer. So let's plug it in to this expression. So 29 minus 3x over x squared minus x minus 6, that's equal to 4 divided by x minus 3, and then b is negative 7. So instead of writing plus negative 7, I could simply write minus 7, because a positive number times a negative number is still a negative result. So it's going to be minus 7 over x plus 2. And this is the answer.